In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at how to properly train for press to handstand, what drills you need to do, what individual differences that are relevant, and yeah, everything about press. Press is a very fascinating move because there's so many different stereotypes who are able to press. We have the stereotypical street workout athlete who is super stiff but very strong in the planche, and when they press it looks kind of like doing a planche motion. And then we have the super flexible, less strong person who makes it very efficient and beautiful looking. But the thing that both of them have in common is that they have enough strength to push the hip over the shoulder and therefore are able to do a press. So the question everybody asks is what muscles are most relevant for the press? It might look like something that has to do with core or flexibility, but the truth is that it's very individual, based on the flexibility. So if a person is very stiff in the shoulders and the lower body, the person needs to lean the shoulder more over the hands, closing the shoulder angle. That makes it more prone to use the front part of the shoulders. While the person who is more flexible don't need to close the shoulder so much, making it more upper trapezius and the upper back muscles, basically the handstand muscles. Most people are in between these two extremes, so they are a little bit weak, a little bit stiff, and can benefit both from learning how to be strong with a closed shoulder, which you learn in the bottom range of the press, and in an open shoulder position, which you learn from a handstand and down. If you're relatively new to press training or handstand training in general, I would recommend to start working on a solid handstand before you start to do direct press work. When I say a solid handstand, I mean a straight handstand and the basic shapes like tucks and straddle. And then as those improve, you can start to work on more direct press work, starting from the top and down, and then supplement with more direct work from the bottom and up, and also all the different ranges, which we're going to take a look at in the coming clips. We're going to start with the exercises that works best for the people who are far away from being able to do first press, and then progressively make them more relevant for the people who are closer to being able to do a press. We're going to start with a negative straddle press. The objective is to go from handstand to your feet on the floor as slow and controlled as possible in the motions that is most hard for you to do. Meaning, when your legs comes down, the further down to the floor it goes, the more your shoulders want to collapse forward. It's your job to resist that collapse from happening. And it will get heavy at some depth, and when it gets heavy, that's where you should try to stop and generate time. It should be so heavy that you're kind of shaking a little bit in your muscles, and you need to think about pushing the floor very hard away from you. Other cues that are handy is to pull the legs down towards you and to push your hip over your shoulders. If you always fall from balance rather than strength, then you can use the wall as a spotter to take away the balance aspect. You can focus more on the strength aspect. When the negatives get stronger and deeper, it's time to move on to range of motion presses. Range of motion press is basically the same as a negative, but instead of collapsing down after you have hit that mark of maximum heaviness, you try to push back up to a handstand. The main objective here is that in the bottom part of the motion, your shoulders will move a little bit forward, and then your job is to reverse that and push shoulders into the handstand position, push your hip over the shoulders, and tada, you've done a range of motion press. You can do this with the wall as a spotter to take away the balance aspect, same as negatives. And progression here is to do it with the boxes. That helps you to understand exactly how deep you're going. It also motivates you to go a little bit deeper when you know that you haven't touched the boxes yet. And next up is box presses. Box presses is basically that you're pressing from the range that you can press from with the strength and ability that you currently have. So if you're relatively new to box presses, the box needs to be very high. If you're more flexible and you have practiced for a while, you can go on lower boxes. Maybe if you're super flexy, you only need yoga blocks. And as you get stronger and better at box presses, you also progress by going deeper and deeper. Form cues here is to pull the legs towards your body. So you kind of want to slide the legs on the box, and that makes your hip go over your shoulders will move forward, and it's basically a lot of the same action that happens from the floor. But look at the shoulder position. The shoulder goes a little bit over your body, and then your shoulders go into the handstand position before your legs comes up high, and that is key. Up until this point, we have worked mostly on an open shoulder position or a close to open shoulder position. The next and the final kind of step towards learning the press is to learn the bottom position of the press, which will be the most closed shoulder position. And that is also the most heavy range to work on, because basically when you can do a lift off here properly, you have done the hardest part of the press. A good exercise to work on this is press walks. It's basically like a press, but instead of pressing all the way to the handstand, you take one step forward and repeat. Another exercise to strengthen this range is the slide press. You basically plunge a little bit in a plank position, and then you're using your shoulders to push your hip up tall, and you're trying to push so damn hard that your feet has very little contact to the floor. When you have trained all of these steps for some time, you are most likely very close to being able to do a press to handstand. Then simply try to do a press handstand for every single time that you're going to train. 3-4 attempts, use your maximum effort, and you will get some value from the effort in itself. Press is a strength skill, which means that it is strength that is needed to develop in order to get it. That means you have to think about it in the same terms as you do with other strength exercises. Progressive overload. That means that every week you are trying to push your body a little bit further than the week before. Maybe you do 1 rep more in the same exercise as you did last week. Maybe you do 1 more set, or maybe you try to measure to go a little bit deeper for the range of motion press, for example. Coming back to the stereotyping that we did earlier, the strong and stiff people will get a lot of value from doing most of the things that starts in a handstand. That is tuck handstand, facing the wall, freestanding, negative presses, range of motion presses. A lot of bang for the buck because it challenges the shoulder in an open position, and that is the weak point of strong and stiff people. The other people, the flexis, who are less strong, they have a most bang for the buck in the bottom position. They can most likely press from yoga blocks, but not the last part because they need to lean the shoulders a little bit more forward, and that's when they lack strength. So working on planche motions and press walks and stuff like that. But most important for the flexis is to learn how to push their muscles damn fucking gloriously hard, because they come from a namaste world where everything is namaste. And when it gets heavy, it's like, my body needed to let go of this tension right now. Fuck that shit. Push fucking harder. Push your set harder. Do more reps. Yeah, you get the point, I hope. Didn't talk about lower body flexibility because I've done that in a different tutorial, and it's a long post already. But the most important takeaway, regardless of drills you're picking or whatever, be consistent with it. Work on it 2-3 times per week for many months in a row. Not 3 weeks on and then, oh, I wasn't motivated, oh, my job, oh, my life, my stress, blah. Doesn't matter. You have to keep it going if you would like to become good at press. Some people will have a much harder time than others to get strong here. That's reality. For me, it took 3.5 years. I know other people who have done it on their first fucking try. It's very unfair. That's how handstand works, and we have to just deal with it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, then like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever.